As scientists and doctors work to treat COVID's physical symptoms, many people struggle with the pandemic's long emotional duration. At first, I didn't recognize the symptoms we all had in common. Friends mentioned they were having trouble concentrating. Colleagues reported that, even with vaccines on the horizon, they were not excited about 2021. A relative stayed up late to watch a movie he already knew by heart. And instead of jumping out of bed in the morning, I lay there playing an online game. It wasn't burnout yet we had energy. It wasn't depression, we weren't desperate. We just feel a little joyless and aimless. And there is a name for it: withering away. Withering away is having the feeling of stagnation and emptiness. It's like you're confusing the days, looking at life through a misty windshield. And that could be the dominant emotion of 2021. As scientists and doctors work to treat the physical symptoms of COVID-19, many people struggle with the pandemic's long emotional duration. We were caught unprepared, because the intense fear and pain of the past year had dissipated. At the onset of the pandemic, it's likely that your brain's threat detection system called the amygdala was on high alert for fight or flight. As you learned that masks help protect us but cleaning up purchases doesn't, you probably developed routines that alleviated your sense of dread. But the pandemic dragged on, and the acute state of distress gave way to a chronic wasting condition. In psychology, we think about mental health on a spectrum from depression to flourishing. Blooming is the pinnacle of well-being, you see meaning in life and feel important to others. Depression is the valley of malaise, you feel down, drained, and worthless. Wasting away is the neglected middle child of mental health. It's the void between depression and flourishing, the lack of well-being. You don't have symptoms of mental illness, but neither are you the picture of mental health. You are not running at full capacity. Withering away blunts motivation, hampers your ability to concentrate, and triples your chances of being less productive at work. It appears to be more common than severe depression, and in some ways it may be a greater risk factor for mental illness. Symptoms of future disorders. The term was coined by sociologist Corey Keyes, who was surprised to see that many people who weren't depressed weren't prospering either. His research suggests that the people most likely to experience major depression and anxiety disorders in the next decade are not those with these symptoms today. It's the people who are wasting away now. And new evidence from healthcare professionals working to combat the pandemic in Italy shows that those who were suffering in the spring of 2020 are 3 times more likely than their peers to be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Part of the danger is that when you're wasting away, you may not notice your libido diminishing. You don't find yourself slipping slowly into solitude, you are indifferent to your indifference. When you cannot see your own suffering, you do not seek help or even make an effort to help yourself. Even if you're not wasting away, you probably know people who are. Understanding this better can help you to help them. A name for what you feel. Psychologists point out that one of the best strategies for controlling emotions is to name them. Last year, during the acute pandemic, the most viral post in Harvard Business Review history was an article describing our collective discomfort as pain. In addition to the loss of loved ones, we were mourning the loss of normality. Grief. This gave us a familiar vocabulary for understanding what appeared to be an unfamiliar experience. While we've never faced a pandemic before, most of us have faced losses. This has helped us to crystallize lessons from our own past resilience, and to gain confidence in our ability to withstand present adversity. We still have a lot to learn about what drives us to wither and how to heal, but naming it can be a first step. This would help us to clear our vision, giving us a clearer window into what was, before the name, a blurry experience. It can remind us that we are not alone, withering away is common and a shared experience. And it could give us a socially acceptable answer to the question, how are you? Instead of saying great or okay, imagine if we replied, honestly, I'm wasting away. It would be a refreshing contrast to toxic positivity, that typically American pressure to always be optimistic. When you add discouragement to your lexicon, you start noticing it around you. It's something that appears when you become